We're all going through a massive challenge with the current pandemic. And I think the key secret in improving, the whole webinar can be summarized, I would say, improving your wellness and longevity during this time is having the following perspective. If you could bring the next slide, Michal.
Yes, I'll put in the slide on.
The light is not just, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, but the light is not just at the end of the tunnel. Next slide, if you could. So, no, the slide before that. Sorry. Okay, so the light is not just at the end of the tunnel, it is in the tunnel. So what I mean by that is using this time to adapt new ways of thinking, feeling, new habits, behaviors, and, with the, belief and understanding that you will see results shortly. Time is definitely a luxury. So first of all, enjoying the time with our families, the time to learn new things, and become a new version of you. And so this is what this speech is going to be talking about, how some tips in terms of well-being and longevity, how becoming a new version of you. And I think to simplify it, I would say how to look and feel, 10 years younger, maybe using this time to do that. Prior to starting PAR, some of you that are on the call know that I spent about 20 years in pharmaceuticals, working with the top researchers, top physicians, professors in the world, even started a pharma company myself. But then at the end came to the unavoidable conclusion that pharmaceuticals are not the long-term solution to our well-being and longevity, even to our health problems for the most cases. So many of us come from, long line of survivors. So, we've been around for millions of years. So we shouldn't have any problems in becoming survivors ourselves. So why do we age? So having the right genes is a good start toward ensuring one's physical survival, but it's only 20% of the story. And actually, we don't even have an aging gene. So what is happening here is, if you bring the next slide, it's actually we're aging because our body is not, when our body is not able to deal with the DNA damage. And so this is an interesting chain of events happening. When DNA damage occurs, as the list you see here, there are genes and epigenetic fixed genes in every cell. And when DNA damage occurs, these epigenetic fixed genes leave their post in their own cell and head to the place where the DNA damage occurs to fix it. And when they leave their post, the cell becomes unstable and there's a chaos. And if they don't come back soon enough, the cell is in danger of losing its proper function. And oftentimes this is what happens. So sometimes DNA damage happens so frequently, as you see from the list on screen. These epigenes are always busy fixing DNA damage elsewhere. So they never find their way back to the cell. So the cell becomes dysfunctional, dies, but not really, more like becomes a zombie cell. And they should be dead, but they aren't, and they continue to harm us through releasing cytokines. We've heard about cytokines during this crisis, which cause inflammation and major problems in the body. So then what is this DNA damage cause? So this whole mechanism is what really ages us, and it's caused by this list that you see here that are, part of our everyday life. So then, it's a lot of it is, can be avoided. The natural necessary act of DNA replicating also, ages, but then that's not what we can avoid. If you bring the next slide, please, Michal, then what is the solution? What is what do we need to do? We're often asked, what is the secret to longevity? On the slide, you see the 4 rules that you need to follow. And as you see, I think note that the deletion from the right side makes remembrance of the occurring theme easier. Just don't. So on the more easier and joyful side, if you bring the next slide, Michal, we're all about living joyfully, and there's a beautiful solution: our own bodies. The human body has a miraculous innate mechanism to heal itself. We have about 12 trillion cells on average, and almost all of them are renewed every 3 to 4 months. So we do have the opportunity to renew ourselves through awakening our body's innate powers to rejuvenate and heal itself. So all the damage that we give to our bodies, as we have discussed, diseases can be healed if we provide the right condition to our bodies. So we can reverse diseases such as hypertension, diabetes, cardiovascular, even cancer in some cases, through personalized, I would say, lifestyle modifications. So it's important to know yourself, accept your wrongdoings, really understand them, and have the courage to take steps to correct that. You can, what we do during this time is also provide, complimentary well-being assessments. You can go to the website and do an assessment, and we'll send you a report in terms of where your shortcomings are in terms of compared with the rest of the society or people who've done the test as well. So let's talk about what you can do right now to slow down, stop, and in some cases reverse this aging and, this aging that leads to diseases. If you go to the next slide, please, Michal. We're optimized through, of course, optimizing our health with these 8 pillars that you see here. I'll just leave you for 10 seconds to read them. So what I'm going to do is, in the remaining 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I will review each of these with you in a little bit more detail. But then we do have specific webinars on each of them. I would say each of them. Like this afternoon, we have one on relaxation. There's a yoga nidra, which is all about relaxing your body or mind. We go deeper into each of these. But now I'm going to briefly talk about some of these, and at the end give you some tips that maybe you can consider to adapt into your health lifestyle in this lockdown time, so that you can reverse aging. And it would happen if you follow certain, simple rules, I would say. So nutrition, we hear many books, talks, there are many different types of diets, lots of things are being pushed these days, and some of them may help you to lose weight, but I would say that none of them are going to really expand your lifespan. For this, you need to develop your own natural way and follow your instincts and follow some simple rules, know your body, understand yourself, and then, incorporate some certain rules to your diet. An article published in the Journal of American College of Cardiology suggests that damage to our arteries happens after just one unhealthy meal, cheeseburger, fries, and soda. We damage our arteries. On the other hand, our body begins to repair that damage following one healthy meal of, plant-based salad, green tea, or salmon. So with these, our body also starts repairing. So that's what I'm talking about. Our body has the ability if we give it the right conditions. For most of us, food is more than just being a healthy choice or healthy fuel. It's really, I think, within our cultural identities, family traditions. Me coming from a Mediterranean culture, certainly you eat as a family, and it's just not fuel for the body. So there are, as I said, this is a deeper matter, but rule of thumb, as our bodies still function as they did in Stone Age, eating a diet that our ancestors did is the most favorable to our bodies. What is this? It's low in processed food, refined sugar. There was none of them back then. Organic, plant-based, and as little as possible. I mean, this is just as deep as this talk goes, but there are a lot of talks on nutrition that, if you follow our webinars. But then again, it's about understanding what's missing in your body too. I will talk about supplementation a little bit. Most of us do not have all the vitamins that we need for different reasons. Some of us don't absorb them well. We have gut issues. We have, some other digestive issues. So we don't eat well. So what do you need to take and how much is enough? It all depends on your genetic makeup, your specific environment, your metabolism. So recommendations are personalized here. But if you have a chronic fatigue or frequent infections, it may very well be that you're lacking some of these minerals. So, but given the circumstances, we can't get personalized on this webinar. I would say that there are 3 vitamins I would recommend for everybody. A daily multivitamin. You would ideally want this to meet your vitamin and mineral needs. Omega-3, I would say, from a good source, so that it doesn't bring toxins to your body. Vitamin D also is important, and dosing is important here. So if you can get any type of guidance here, I think that'll be helpful. So that's kind of like brief recommendations on nutrition and supplementation. Then comes detox. This is, again, very important, because part of the reason why we age is because because of the toxins that accumulate in our body. This could be, a lot of different things. We'll get to that. But first, I want to start with detox and fasting. So calorie restriction is actually one of the proven methods that extend longevity. In animal models, they've seen that calorie restriction have increased lifespan in animals by more than 50%. So, and why does this happen is it's less free radicals in the body. The less we eat, the less fuel we burn, and the less I would say harmful things that harm our body, more DNA repairing enzymes. What to do here is start by reducing your overall intake by 20%. And what does this mean? One way to do that is intermittent fasting, potentially. So switching, so skipping breakfast, I would say. 16 hours is, what it gives your body to, all switching cells to a protected, non-growth, anti-aging mode, killing damaged cells and replacing them with new cells, giving your liver the chance to renew itself, which takes 16 hours. So I think calorie restriction, intermittent fasting are important. Then when it comes to detox, again, we can't avoid total exposure to toxins, but we can greatly reduce this exposure. Looking at our environment, we can make some changes. Some things that come to mind are, keeping plants in the house. Plants do help. I avoid dry cleaning because the main solvent in them is still on the carcinogen list. And I think nowadays people are accepting that only 5 to 10% of all cancers are genetic. The rest is due to environmental factors. So it's important that we watch for these things. Some people have printers in their bedrooms. Please don't. They release ultrafine particles that are, if inhaled by the lung, they cause problems. Filtering your water, eating organic, radiation, use earphones. Don't spend time on the phone or with hair dryers, electric shavers. Not a lot of time. Eating some of the, I think, vegetables that help for detoxabilities, like broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, cilantro. So all these are good for detox. Finding out what heavy metals you've accumulated. Maybe it's not possible right now, but then, when you can, you do. Before that, eat a lot of onion, lemon, green tea. These do help the liver to eliminate these metals. Do a detox if you can. So use this time to cleanse your body as much as you can. Okay, so the next one I would move to is movement. Doing exercise. I think you hear it everywhere. I'm sure all of you, do this, but this is really important for not just keeping fit, but also for our longevity. A 7-year study showed exercise decreased the risk of death by 50 to 70% by, cardiovascular reasons. Less risk of Alzheimer's. These are all proven by studies. It increases white blood cells, which are good for immune system. It increases telomeres, which are good for longevity. The King's College actually did a study comparing the telomere length of twins, 2,400 of them. And the difference between a group that did exercise for 3 hours a week and one that didn't was 10 years. So it's, it's 200 beats, which translate to 10 years. So it is really important. So aerobic exercise, HIIT training for fat burn, and also for, I think, for our cells, it's important. Strength training, weight training is also important, especially for men, for those testosterone hormones. Not doing a lot of it, because then it goes the other way around. Flexibility training is important. So, as we get old, you don't want to get the old age posture. It's as a result of aging, our muscles will shorten. So we want to watch for that as well. So movement is critical, and in this time, finding 30 minutes is, not should not be that difficult, I hope, but it's really important. Another thing that's extremely important is sleep, because sleep is when your body restores itself, when your cells repair the damage, eliminate toxins, rebuild your cells. So it's extremely important. I used to think that, years ago it was a waste of time. Oh, I can function with 4 hours of sleep. Yes, I could, but then what I didn't know is that, what will give me more time as enjoyable, healthy lifetime is getting the right amount of sleep. So solutions are, and we do have a webinar that's coming, I think, this Friday from an expert. But eating right, exercising, doing things to reduce your stress, relaxing before going to sleep. TV and working are not necessarily relaxing right before sleep. No caffeine after 3 p.m. When I travel, I usually use melatonin. It doesn't work for some people, but making sure whatever that way is, finding the right way to sleep well is, extremely important. Then relaxation. So I think we all know that stress is bad for us. It ages us. And this is how you connect your mind, body, and, to heal and rejuvenate, by dealing with stress. The fight-flight mechanism that, helped us when we saw lion, either it ate us or we ran away and the stress level went down. That's outdated, but it's still like that. A series of internal processes are set in motion when we perceive risks, and we release cortisol and then adrenaline, noradrenaline. Cortisol is a stress hormone. It gives more energy to muscles and brain, and we're able to run. And the other hormones, adrenaline, noradrenaline, they suppress immune system, reproductive system, and digestive system. And I think these days we don't want those, especially the immune system, to be stressed. So sometimes we don't even realize how stressed we are because we're used to dealing with it, managing it. But then again, if you go and do your well-being assessment, we can tell you, that because there are other questions to ask, we can tell if your body is stressed or not. And there are tests as well, cortisol saliva tests. When this thing is over, you can also do those. How to fight stress? Everybody has different ways of doing it. For me, I prioritize because I have a lot to do, like all of you. Close personal relationships help. Being careful about what you put inside, alcohol, coffee, cigarettes, they actually cause more stress. These are all, I think, proven. If I don't sleep, I'm stressed, I don't function well. What I eat, exercise, taking breaks, meditation, breathing, yoga. Again, this afternoon there's a session that you should definitely join if you have the time, 3:00. All these things, meditations are extremely important, actually. All this, and there are a lot of studies showing how it impacts longevity and telomeres, and there's a lot of studies showing that. So I'm sure a lot of you meditate, but just dealing with stress is not just meditation. It's just acknowledging your stress and then doing certain things to deal with it. Purpose. Actually, this is also important in the sense of longevity, extending your life. And it's, I think we all know blue zones, how they deal with it, how they have close relationships, deal with life in certain ways. But there's also data. There's a long-term study that was done with 6,000 participants, actually. And they were asked their self-reported purpose in life. Do you have a purpose in life? And some people said, no, I just, I'm not one of them, that have a purpose. Some people said, no, I don't wander aimlessly through life. I have a purpose. And they were asked for other positive relations with others, experience of positive, negative emotions. And these people were followed for 14 years. At the end of 14 years, at the end of the study, about 10% of them, 600 of them, and these were different ages, have passed away. And those who passed away had reported, all of them, lower purpose in life and fewer positive relations than did survivors. So greater purpose in life consistently predicted lower mortality risk across the lifespan, showing the same benefit for younger, middle, older participants across the follow-up period. So this is an opportunistic time to strengthen those relationships. And we also, I'm happy to kind of send you some questions that you can think about, when we come to finding our purpose in life. It just requires some self, I think, examination, going a little deeper in yourself. But also, I think the close relationships in our life also make our purpose more clear. During this lockdown, I actually had an opportunity to really improve on the relationship with my daughter, and that kind of just helps with the overall joy I get from life. So this is an important factor. And the last one I'm going to touch upon here is our energy. So we're all vibrating energy at the subatomic level, and illness occurs when there's disturbance to our energy frequency. So what do I mean by that? Human body in daytime resonates in a range of 62 to 68 megahertz. In cancer patients, for example, this level would be around 42 megahertz. So we all have a certain frequency. So feeling down or having negative thoughts decreases the frequency level by about 12 megahertz on average. So negative thoughts do have an impact on what happens to our body. Positive thinking has been proved to increase this level by 10 megahertz. So we must have more positive thoughts than negative thoughts, because for the math of it. Decreases in the frequency levels will break the natural energy flow in the body. Like, for example, when a person's frequency has decreased to 58, because remember we are at 62 to 68. If it decreases to 58 megahertz, which is a disruption in the energy flow, of course, this would negatively affect the functioning of our immune system to start with. And then it would allow a virus to really replicate. And the viruses have lower energies as well, so they have similar frequency. Then we would locate itself, the virus would locate itself in our body with ease, and then we would see the impact of it. So that's why it's important to keep our energy levels high, so that's so that nothing that is not in our energy can really interfere with us. There are a lot of things that cause our energy to decrease. Stress is one, we talked about that. Toxins lower our energy. Electromagnetic pollution with the phones lower our energy, so keep them outside of our room, bedroom, and not room, bedroom. But then when we talk, not necessarily being on the having the earphone is important. Negative thinking, we've talked about the deficiency of vitamins, minerals, and all sorts of these things decrease our energy levels. So insufficient life energy in the body will lower the frequency of our bodies, tissues, cells. And for a healthy life, our bodies need to be filled with the force life of the energy. And in our meridians, chakras, they must all be open and broad and getting the energy, giving out the negative ones. So this is critically important. So with that, these are, I would say, the 8 pillars of longevity that I wanted to briefly cover. And the last slide actually is, there's one more. The last slide actually is, what do I do now? So we have like a few weeks, maybe more than a few weeks of lockdown. So what are some of the behaviors that I think would be good to consider changing, adapting, making our habit, that would make a big difference now and also in future? So eating less, skipping a day, speaking a meal a day, breakfast this could be, I think, is a very good way to eat less, and it gives our body the 16 hours, liver the 16 hours it needs to really rejuvenate itself. Avoiding sugar, bread, pasta, and alcohol, I would add here, as much as you can, because sugar is absolutely known to related to aging our bodies. Eating plant-based, minimizing animal protein is important. Fresh, local, seasonal, organic vegetables, fruits is very important, because vegetables do do detoxing, giving the minerals, and they can be absorbed easier. Yeah, ensuring our body has the minerals and vitamins it needs to our best ability in these lockdown days. Detoxing our body, heavy metals, detoxing our liver, I think is important. Again, if you want specific detox programs, please do reach out. Happy to help with that. Minimizing electromagnetic pollution, the phones, not keeping it on us when we're not talking, and that's important. Avoiding microwave plastic. I actually avoid microwave for food, period. Excessive sun exposure, which is not a problem for us here, but that's also important. Exercise of your choice, 30 minutes a day, critical. Staying on the cool side, which is being cool as a person is good, but this is also keeping our body heat cool, because it has also been proven that cold does increase our longevity at our cellular level. It does help. So those snow angels, when there's snow, are helpful, but then sleeping in a room that's cool is also, I think, very good. Relaxing your mind, taking care of your energy field, sleeping, knowing your purpose, knowing yourself, and taking actions and doing the things that you enjoy. So if you allocate time to do these now, then you will save time and energy from dealing with other diseases in future. So this is the opportunity created by lockdown. This is, I think, for the keys for the well-being and longevity in isolation, and this is the light in the tunnel. So with that, I think we're almost, used all of our time, but if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. You've seen my email there, please reach out if you have any questions. I'm happy to share with you the slides as well.
Thank you, Aisha. That was fascinating and very educating. So I think amazing tips to just get started.
Yes.
For those of you who have questions, you can put them on the chat, or you can wave and I can open your video, or unmute yourself and ask the question. We usually have a shy audience, so why don't I start and ask one thing? You mentioned about, on the detox point of view, avoiding heavy metals or detoxifying heavy metals. How do we actually do that?
Okay, so usually the best way to do it would be to find out what heavy metals you have, the specific ones that you have accumulated throughout, years. That is what we do. And usually the way we accumulate them is exposure to them, one. And mercury, fish, everybody knows that. There are other things, chemicals in our lives. But then usually our body is supposed to detox them, get rid of them. And when we have an issue with our detoxification, our liver detoxification, sometimes because of the enzyme missing in our gut or something, then it doesn't happen. So if we're able to identify what that is, there are specific, I would say, things to eat and supplements and things not to eat for those. But if you don't have the ability to really understand that right now, in normal circumstances, we could do that easily with hair minerals and blood tests and other things that we're able to identify those. But then you basically, I think, should eat a lot of cilantro, and onions and green tea are very helpful for heavy metal detoxing. Taking chlorella tablets is, I think, very good for heavy metals in detoxification in general. So these would be the things that I would say, without knowing exactly what's happening at the personal level.
Those are generics that we can actually do to support.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We do have more questions now, so that's perfect. Sorry. Is isogenics recommended as healthy choice now? How about coffee? Drink or don't drink it?
Okay, so let me address the coffee question first. Coffee, I think, having limited amount of coffee, 1 to 2 cups of coffee is probably not going to be very harmful for you. On the other side, it depends again on your personal circumstances. Some people are, quick metabolizers of coffee, and they can have, more than that. But in general, I would say that, a lot of coffee puts a lot, more taxation on the liver, because our liver needs to detox that. So I would say that, minimizing amount of coffee is going to be important. And then not having coffee after 3 p.m. Would be good for the sleep quality for most people. There are some exceptions, and they basically have nothing, and they're very fast metabolizers of coffee. And if we do some nutritional genetic trait tests, we could identify that. But then other than that, I would say it depends personal, but I would minimize it to 1 to 2 cups a day for anybody. For isogenic healthy choice, I actually, I'm not very informed about that. I would need to look into that and come back to you on that, Beta.
On the coffee, so I think a lot of us thinking of coffee on, like, there is the black coffee, and a lot of people do add milk to that, or any alternatives of milk. So when we talk about coffee, do you just look at the black coffee, that espresso, or all of those coffee treats that
right. So I'm not a fan of dairy. So it's more for most people. It's not, for us adults, drinking, cow milk is probably not good for anybody, at this point. So, I think using plant-based alternatives is one way to do it. Almonds or I use oats. So all those alternatives are good. So otherwise, it's, I think 1 to 2 cups of coffee with one of these alternatives, I drink it myself, and I think it wouldn't necessarily have a huge harm. But I know that a lot of people that we meet, come and say that I drink 4 to 6 cups a day, some people more. That is harmful, absolutely. And sometimes, tea has also caffeine, so you can't just say it's like nice. If the tea has caffeine, that's also counted as caffeine.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay.
I was very clear.
Yes, you were very clear. I think there is a long action item there, and I think one of the key things from experience, and we've been working together for a long time and talking about it, is that commitment that you take for yourself. Mm-hmm. And from my experience is, as the longer you take that commitment, the longer you actually see the benefits of it. Yes. And I know it's probably a bit more difficult to take that commitment on lockdown, but as you said, you really articulated very, very few things to start with. I think that one more question that I would have is, skipping a meal or skipping breakfast, do you recommend to do it every day, or do you wait to do it like every other day? What will be the best thing to get into that routine?
Yeah. So I think, if you are not doing it at all, the best thing would be to do it every other day. And I do know that some autophagy experts do recommend that not to do it every day and do it every other day. But I think that, if that's the only way you can, reduce your calories, I would do it every day. But then if there's any other way to reduce your calories, if you can, have the will and the willpower to reduce calories in any other way, then you can do it, 4 times a week or, 3 times a week. So, but it is an easy way to reduce calories. Definitely, I would say.
Okay. As Aisha mentioned, we do have nutrition sessions ongoing. So we're now at the end of April sessions, and we're going to, we already have the lineup for May. We are helping with nutrition advice, with gut health, with, of course, a lot of science around. For those who want to hear more about what's behind the things, we have an amazing talk this afternoon. It's like, no, tomorrow with Gareth. So that will be another one to talk about, blood cells. And so we are integrating those. We have meditation and Ayurveda, which was fascinating for all of us, learning more about Ayurveda and Ayurvedic lifestyle and Ayurvedic self-care. So we do recommend you guys to kind of like look at what we have in offer and pick up the relevant things that are easier for you to follow. And definitely Aisha mentioned, and thanks to PAR for this really generous offer to have a complimentary a wellness assessment, because it is going to a questionnaire and it will take you 15 minutes to fill in, or sometimes a bit longer. But there are going to be actual professional doctors and therapists on PAR's end that will review that and will send a bespoke kind of plan, initial plan for you guys to follow. And that's an absolutely amazing way to start. So I highly recommend you to go on each of our websites, either PAR website or 58 Wellbeing website, and you will see their free wellness assessment, and just take the time to review your own well-being. Mm-hmm. And with that, if we don't have any more questions, I'll give you another minute to. Okay, so thank you so much, Aisha.
All right. Well, thank you. Bye-bye.
And we will look forward to see you guys in the next event. Thanks.
Thanks, Michal.
Bye-bye.